So the very short version of what this means to us is that there's a lot of depth and complexity to what we do, and that's what makes us different from other higher education institutions and other organizations trying to do similar things to what we do. That depth is what sets us apart, and we don't often communicate that depth outside of these rooms. We normally just kind of keep that in our conversations and keep things outside a bit more superficial or cheery or like things that look good that way. And we think, and in the early days when we were first building this thing from scratch and we were like just in shock about everything that would happen, oh my god, we got our first student application, like no way, or oh, our first student enrolled, or just every single thing that happened, we were just like, wow, and we would tell the world about it. We were doing better at building friends and finding people who believed what we believed when we were doing that than when we're doing more recently, which is just show off the polished, planned, intended stuff, right? So we're going to try to go back to just showing all of our work and finding fans and friends and tribe members because they also want to be in this journey and story with us.
Hey Tim, what's going on right now?
I'm eating cherry.
What's everyone else doing right now?
So everybody is trying to learn about what showing your work looks like by considering case studies of other organizations that have either shown their work really well or have tried to and maybe it hasn't quite worked out, so we can figure out what works, what doesn't, and what barriers we might face in this next year of trying to show our work.
Because to show the growth of humans, you have to show the failure of humans, like the inside and outside of what happens to humans as they do work.
We'll be circling back together in about...
But do we not show the failure, you know, we don't show just the failure, we would show the failure and the recovery.
Yes.
But it's not just like, this is what I had for lunch today. It's, this is what we made together and this is why.
Don't talk too much about what you're going to create. Just create, and then things will kind of go from there.
Right now, all the participants are divided into 3 groups. One group is discussing how individuals can be better at showing their work. Another group is discussing how our chief initiative of Show Your Work relate to the organizational goals. And the last group discuss how we can help students show their work. And so right now we have spread out on the property and people are in small groups engaged in conversation, and we probably have to go interrupt them in 5 minutes and they will never be done.
I want to show like skill development and basically like learning process, I guess. One of the first things I found that made it easy was just to eliminate all the barriers to entry and make it as easy as possible to document. And I think that like that also can be part of like showing your work, of like starting with something like Blogger and moving up to something like WordPress and keep on in that is like actually part of like the document like the documenting of being like it's sloppy, it's messy, it's imperfect right now. And you'll be able to see the development of that. But it gets difficult, like the consistency part gets difficult when like the work gets difficult. If I lose motivation for the project, how do I still in a way capture that and share that? You know?
I think there's something interesting about not all the time and not all the failures like we talked about, but being able to provide some of the vulnerability and the idea of being like, I was doing all these things and then they took a turn this way, and so here's what I'm, and sort of like here's what I'm doing to move forward or whatever. But I think that makes it a way more interesting story. Like the story isn't interesting if it's always it's always going up.
Like I actually think that if we have a photo of Tina taking a photo,
Can you take a photo of Doug taking a photo of Tina taking a photo?
And help them figure out how to launch chief initiative about showing your work or something like that.
Reminder that Wayfinding as an organization has 2 major goals. One is to provide a experience for students that creates a successful outcome for them, so helping students find their highest and best use of the next steps they need to do to get there. So that's one. The second is showing that our model of education is better than, or at least a viable alternative to, the status quo.
We talked about what consent looks like for students, especially of like being asked to put everything out or one thing out or nothing out if they don't want to. We talked about what we could have done better to support students over this last year, talking about we didn't actually give them the tools for documentation. We needed to help them understand how to share, how to tell a story. We talked about how they were given a lot of freedom for how they do their assignments, but they actually, a lot of them ended up choosing writing a paper often because they didn't have experience in like writing a play for it instead or something like that, or doing a video.
Lately I've been really excited about my work. I have been
Lately, I've been really excited about my work. I've been trying to help Wayfinding Academy as much as I can, and while doing my normal job of doing film work.
It's about a time in my life when I decided that I was struggling with college, I was a struggling college student, that I would try and just graduate in a single term.
I have been letting go of more and more of the work I have been doing over the last 4 years by doing more of the work I wanted to do.
This work's really exciting. I've been working at Wayfinding Academy, doing, so I've gotten to do this thing that I usually don't get to do, which is a piece of student recruitment.
Ding ding! You've reached the end of the Supersonic Story Portal!
On today's podcast of Education for the Future, we have Nicholas Caleb and Emily Zionts. Thank you both for being here.
All of the artist groups have been asked to provide some social media posts, have been asked to create a video or a podcast, which I know some of them have put considerable effort into. They have also been asked to create a group performance.
Wayfinding is a car. The best one in the biz. Let me explain all the parts that make it what it is. The crew is the engine, well oiled, running smooth. The guides are like the GPS that help you plan your moves. Luminaries are the headlights that illuminate the way. The faculty are co-pilots, assuring you won't stray. The cohort is the passengers, along with you each year. The Wisdom Council are windshield wipers that make things nice and clear. The student is the driver that chooses where to go. Where they want to take their ride, only they can know. When all these work together, no limits to what we can do. Revolutionize higher education and create the new you.
Diversity.
To celebrate
The end of the first year. And congratulations, Michelle. This art piece should fit in your office behind your door over your mailbox.
I'll take orange.
Yeah.
This is the main reason why I started Wayfinding, is because that I felt like the higher education system treats students like their numbers and like their objects to be sorted. And so when we were creating the creed, I wanted to make sure that we had a line in the creed that talks about that our philosophy believes that we are humans to be cultivated and not objects to be sorted. Like when I talk with groups and I talk about all of the different reasons why we started Wayfinding, I end with this one and talk about how this is my personal passion for why I believe Wayfinding should exist, is to treat everybody like human beings. Good job, everybody. This is how I'm going to keep remembering it, but I feel like everybody should take note, because as we bring in new crew members, this is what's expected of us. Not this specific, but things like this, right?